evolved as the course of the year went on, and they've just got different blocking combinations, different gap schemes, different zone schemes, and then you add the element of the quarterback, and it just makes it. And they just do a really good job. So it's a challenge every week in the run game, but no doubt with these guys, it's definitely a challenge.
Hey, Robert, with Kyler Murray, you've seen a lot of quarterbacks take big leaps from year one to year two. What are you expecting to see out of Kyler Murray this year?
He doesn't get enough credit. Maybe he does. I'm just blind to it. But that second half of the year when it just seemed like he was playing a lot more quarterback. Not to say that he wasn't running, but he was playing. He wasn't running as often. He was playing a lot more quarterback. It just seemed like he became a much better football player, and their offense was humming. And they became a very explosive offense towards the second half of the year. And a guy like him, and from everything you read about and hear about from people around the league, he's just got an unbelievable mindset and an unbelievable work ethic. So he's got weapons all over the place on the offensive side of the ball, and his head coach is a pretty darn good play caller, and so you expect the guy to make a jump, and so with Kyler, I do think we're going to get his absolute best.
Robert, Nick Bosa said yesterday that you guys are better prepared to face a mobile quarterback like Kyler Murray. Without giving away anything schematically, what is it about your defense that is better prepared this year?
It's I guess you could say reps. You go through it a couple times. We had Lamar Jackson to play against. You get Russell a couple of times a year, and you just have an understanding of the speed. You can't simulate the speed that Kyler has on the football field, and all the different things that they do schematically to kind of stress you. You have to defend the entire field, and they do as good a job as anybody in football making you do that. So it's a challenge, and it takes reps to really understand the speed at which they play, and the space that they create, and the mindset that you have to play as an individual. So it's going to be a tremendous challenge on Sunday, and we know we're going to get their absolute best, so we're excited about it.
Hey, Coach, for a second day in a row, bad air quality. Just wondering how it was practicing out there, and any concerns on Sunday, especially on defense, with you guys flying around, that this could be an issue?
No, air quality seems good. I know all the photos. I've been getting a lot of phone calls about the photos, but the air quality has been really good. I grew up in the heart of Ford Motor Company factory, so it doesn't smell any different to me. So, but no, all kidding aside, the air quality's been fine out here, so I don't think it's going to be an issue on Sunday.
Robert, what is unique about the Cardinals offense schematically? What makes it different than the other 31 offenses in the NFL?
They find different ways to attack you when you look at the perimeter and the inside, both inside and outside. They do a really nice job with formations and hiding their schemes. They do a really good job with their blocking combinations, their gap schemes, and all that stuff. So you add the element of the quarterback, and they're very smart in how they use them. And the fact that he's actually usually you look at running quarterbacks and they're not really good throwers, and this kid is the more he played quarterback, the better he got, and there's no doubt he could sit in the pocket and be Tom Brady if he wants to. Not to put him on that level yet, but he can sit in the pocket and be an unbelievable pocket passer, or he can be a scrambler, he can be a runner, he can be whatever he wants. He's a very, very talented quarterback, and his sky's the limit in my opinion.
Hey, Robert, you may not have looked too closely at him given where you were going in the first round of the draft, but what are your thoughts on Isaiah Simmons for the Cardinals? Obviously, there's talk, that maybe he could match up with Kittle and not neutralize him, but have a little more success than they've had in the past.
Now, Isaiah is a tremendously gifted athlete. He's long, he's fast, he's got quick feet. He's dynamic in the sense that he can play multiple positions for you. He can play safety, he can come down and play linebacker. He's got great cover skills. it'll be a tremendous challenge for not only him but Kittle if he gets matched up on him. But he is a gifted individual. It's and him getting his first shot at it. It'll be fun to watch, you know. But we liked him coming out. Thought he was one of the better players, obviously, and deservedly got drafted in the first round there. So he's dynamic. It'll be interesting to see the way they use him in that scheme. So.
Robert, is the Cardinals offense sort of frustrating at times, just the way they sort of dink and dunk sometimes? They throw a lot of screens, a lot of short passes, read option stuff that's not necessarily beating you down the field. Does that sort of necessitate patience?
You know, it makes you disciplined. You know, there's and that's what I'm talking about with making you defend the field. They do as good a job as anybody in football. So it takes an extreme amount of discipline on both sides of the ball, and it really creates a battle of efficiency and precision, where defensively you've got to be precise, and for them offensively they've got to be precise, and they do a very good job teaching. Their players do a great job executing, and because of it, you just saw them get much better as the course of the year went on. So. And then you add the fact that they get Hopkins and they're another year into the system, so it's it's gonna be a good challenge for sure.
Robert, how has Fred Warner looked in these last two practices, and when he's on the COVID list, what's he able to do just physically? Is he able to work out and kind of stay in shape for when practice does resume for him?
Yeah, he's looked good. I think. Whatever the performance crew has going for him, you know, he looks fine to me. But he's excited to be around and all that stuff. So he looks good. So he's not expecting any restrictions for him.
Robert, Kyle said yesterday he watched the NFC Championship game the other day and was just reminded how much the crowd fueled you guys and how much you guys fueled the crowd. And Nick talked about on the difference it makes on third downs. Obviously, not going to be a crowd on Sunday. Is there any concern about the adjustment there, or once the game starts, you're just not really worried about it?
You don't worry about it with the game starting, but I do think one of the greatest things for a team that has the pass rush that we have is having home field advantage, where another team has to use silent count, and the fact that we're not able to use it, I'm assuming that they'll be able to use their cadence. We'll see how it goes in the game, but yeah, it's the home field advantage right there, you know, and if you've got to play every game as a road game on defense, it's not that it's going to be a huge disadvantage or anything. It's just, you know, getting off the snap count is not going to be as fun. But we can still utilize our skill set and still play our game, and we know it's not there anyway, and we just got to roll. So, yeah, it's not having a crowd. It's going to be different out there for sure.
Robert, the last time we talked to you, you mentioned the red zone defense, and the 49ers went from allowing 41% of red zone drives to end in a touchdown. That was when Tart played through December 1, which was third in the NFL, and that jumped to 62% by the season's end, which was 26. So just going back to the Cardinals, what challenges do they present in the red area just with a mobile quarterback and knowing that he can run just zone read, and especially now that they have DeAndre Hopkins?
Yeah, they're when you got a quarterback who can run it in, you got a running back who can pound it in, and you got receivers that you can just throw the ball to. It's they present a tremendous challenge in the red zone. You're right. We did not finish the year in the red zone the way we wanted. That we were third in the NFL until the last 4 weeks of the season, and it wasn't good. And looking at our self scout and all that stuff, it's definitely things that we can fix, both as coaches and players. But yeah, when you've got a group of guys like they do in terms of from a skill position standpoint, and they can pound it in, they can run it in with the quarterback, they can throw the ball to any one of the receivers and then go get it. It's definitely a challenge. So we've just got to make sure that we're very detailed and understand that when it gets in the red zone, it's all about precision. It's gonna happen quick, and if we're on our job, we'll at least have a chance to compete.
Do two more for Coach?
Hey, Robert. Richard Sherman has been a left side guy most of his career. Might that change at all this year? I figured I'd shoot my shot here.
I don't know. No, you never know. It's Sherm's a dynamic football player. So any way we can use him to help us win football games, we'll do it. But doesn't mean anything at this point moving forward.
Robert, you had tremendously high praise for Kyler Murray just now. He's clearly a phenomenal athlete, but you're talking about him as a quarterback. Just how advanced of a passer, a pocket passer, does he look to you on film?
And that's what I was getting at. Like as the year went on, I know he got dinged up a little bit, and I don't know if that's why he didn't run it as much towards the second half of the year. But when he actually played quarterback, I felt like that's where he progressed the most, playing quarterback. And does he have room to improve? Absolutely. But you could see that he's very, very capable of sitting back there and he goes through reads. You can see him deliberately going through a progression. He's not a one read, throw the ball, run. He's not that. He can be a pocket passer if he needs to be. And so that obviously he's got to get more reps at that and learn, but he's very, very capable and has proven it. And then his arm he's got a hose for an arm, and he's shown and his accuracy improved over the course of the year. So he's gifted, and the more reps he gets and the more opportunities he has to go be a drop back passer and play quarterback, the better he's going to get. And so they definitely got a good one over there.
All right. Thank you, Coach.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Testing, testing. 1 2 1 2. Mic check.
Hey, Dee. Yesterday, Kyle was talking about it, and Robert was just talking today a little bit about how you're essentially going to be playing every home game as a road game with no fans, and losing that home field advantage. Can you just talk a little bit about that as a player, and if that'll be an adjustment, or once the game starts, it doesn't really matter?
Well, I can't really tell you exactly what it'll be like. I'm just expecting to adjust as we go. I don't really know what it's gonna be like to play in that atmosphere. For me, it's just gonna be keying the ball, well, for the whole D line, and we just gotta control what we can control. And as long as we're getting off that rock, it truly don't matter for us. Of course, we want the crowd noise, but you know, an advantage is an advantage as far as D line, and our advantage is getting off the rock. So we just got to keep the ball. As far as the team, we'll just adjust. We're ready for whatever. We'll adjust as we go.
Hi, Dee. The air quality is moderate, and it looks maybe worse than it is. But just wondering from a player's perspective, both coaches have said it shouldn't be a factor. What's it like practicing in it, and do you think it'll be a factor come Sunday?
Me personally, I haven't really felt much of a difference. Um, it looks it looks crazy outside, but I haven't really felt anything different as far as my wind. I actually feel pretty good, cardiovascular wise, as far as my breathing. I think we'll be fine. I think we'll be fine. Whatever comes out Sunday, we'll deal with and keep the ball rolling.
Nick Bosa said yesterday that you guys are more prepared to face a mobile quarterback this year than you were last year. You're starting it out with week 1 facing Kyler Murray. What is different about this defense that has you better prepared for it this season?
Uh, we simplified things. I think we played Arizona on a short week the first time, so it was pretty tough to make the adjustments. And we put a lot on Fred and Quan's shoulders. Greenlaw included, our linebackers, just our back end in general. They had a lot on them. So we simplified things so we could play fast. Because when we play fast as a defense, no one can stop us, and you're definitely not going to outrun us. And so when we play together and we're executing, execution is going to be the key for this game as we go along. So I think we feel great about this game plan. Um, and we still have a few more days to prepare and still see the looks. So we're gonna play on one page and keep the ball going.
Hey, Dee, did playing Kyler Murray last year, did he remind you of other mobile quarterbacks that you faced? And also, forgetting the specifics of, I know you hurt your hamstring against the Cardinals in the second game. Did that happen when you were chasing him?
Yeah, it was more so how he gave himself up. I think it caused me to kind of flip over him a little bit. My body was in a awkward position, sort of isolating that hamstring in a very compromising position. So uh, that shit hurt. I mean, that thing hurt. I don't like remembering that. So, but at the end of the day, what was the first question? The Zoom, man. We got to get used to it, huh?
All right, I'm back with you. Yeah, just if he reminded you of other mobile quarterbacks you faced, I assume they're different styles. Is he more Russell Wilson or whatever?
Um, yeah, he's different than Russell. Russell is, as far as what he can do, as far as extending plays. Russell is in a category of his own, and so is Kyler. They do it in different ways, but they're both mobile. Um, Kyler is special, man. He can definitely pick you apart. He can get out of the pocket. He can make things happen, and we've found ways to that we're at least gonna try to slow down that playmaking ability a little bit and allow us to do what we do best. But Kyler's a quarterback of his own. They install a lot of things for him in the run game that makes him dangerous. And like I said before, he can pick you apart also.
D, how's your calf feeling at the moment? And after talking so much about your goals surrounding availability this year, what was your level of frustration when that thing flared up?
Um, the calf feels fine. It's just one of those things when you're going consecutive days in training camp. Is when you're dealing with a calf, you don't want to risk it getting to that Achilles tendon. So at the end of the day, we had to jump on it because our goal, and especially my goal, which is the team's goal, is to be there 16 games plus postseason. And I'm not gonna waver on that at all. So we just had to get that right and really, as far as the totality of my body, for me was to. It gave me a little bit of time to focus on that too. Anytime you get an injury, it gives you time to let the rest of your body catch up too. So that's how we had to look at it.
We'll do 2 more for D.
Do you have an expectation aside from being available in every game, being available more often in early downs, given that the injuries last year kind of limited you to third downs? Do you expect to play more on those early downs?
Every down. Now, as far as being pass rushing is what I do. I make plays at the end of the day, and pass rushing is what I do. But in order to be, my goal is to be a great defensive player, not a great pass rusher. So first, second, and third down, fourth down if we need it.
Hey, D, can you just talk about the importance of a defensive lineman, especially this week, just staying in your rushing lanes against an athlete like Kyler, and why it's important to play through the whistle?
Well, in this defense, you don't have a choice but to play to the whistle. That ain't even nothing we speak on. But as far as collapsing the pocket and being gap sound, that's gonna be the run game and the pass game. At the end of the day, we're still gonna rush and do what we do, but we just gonna have to adjust to what he can do and where he likes to escape. We know all that going into the game, and so but we're gonna rush aggressive, but we're still gonna be cognizant of where he can escape and be smart, and also on rundowns. We have to play discipline. I think a lot of people who see us play, it looks like we're just going and penetrating and running up the field, and just trying to blow things up. But it's a discipline oriented defense. So, and especially in this game, gaps and assignments are everything.
All right. Thank you, D.
Yeah. Do I need to wipe this seat down?
We'll do it.
I wipe the seat down? I don't want to get the next guy any COVID if I got it, I said if I got it. I cursed by accident.
Tessa, so I go,
I did that math quiz on accident on camera. So
Hey, y'all gonna bleep me out?
no, we're not gonna bleep you out.
spray. Oh, let's do it. I'm pumped. Okay. Yeah, you know, I just like to sit up here and, you know, just play it cool, you know, have conversation.
And I'm sorry to interrupt that, but thanks for joining us. And I wanted to ask you, obviously, there's going to be a lot of eyes on social justice as this season begins, and it seems like the NFL is taking a very different stance on that. And I'm just wondering, in your eyes, what can all of us do, but specifically, what can professional athletes do to sort of make this more than a feel-good moment and actually use this moment of visibility to kind of gain some momentum on important issues?
Well, I don't know. I don't know if I'll ever consider it a feel-good moment, you know, dealing with the issues that we're dealing with and the death and the prosecution and the inequalities that people of color have dealt with, you know, for a long time in this country. But I think as professional athletes and just as human beings who have dealt with the inequities, you know, and you know, whether it's police brutality or you know, the problems in the workplace or you know, just racism in general. You know, it hasn't gone anywhere in this country, and so I think as athletes and people who've dealt with it, you know, it's our job to just continue the conversation and continue to shed light on issues that most people don't have to deal with. You know, there are a lot of people in this country who don't have to deal with police brutality or racism or anything of the sort. So, you know, it's kind of out of sight, out of mind. And you know, they cheer for their favorite athletes regardless of what they look like or what their background is. And I think if they saw those human beings and you know, heard their stories and heard the things that they've dealt with, you know, growing up on a day-to-day basis, there would be some sympathy and empathy there and you know, have people, you know, kind of compel people to go out and do something about it and make a difference. And I think obviously athletes have always tried to, a lot of athletes have gone out and made differences in their communities and tried their best to be philanthropists. And this is another opportunity to give these guys a platform to show who they are and to make a difference.
Richard, in the big picture, what does it mean for the Cardinals and the offense and the challenge that you guys face in having them bring over DeAndre Hopkins and pairing him with Larry Fitzgerald and all the other guys they have as pass catchers there?
Well, he's obviously an incredible talent, you know, as is Larry, you know, and they have a good offense. They have a good coordinator in Kliff Kingsbury. And so it presents an enormous challenge. You know, we've been preparing for him all week. You know, we're confident in our game plan, but you know, obviously out there, you know, it's going to be a dogfight, and we expect that. You know, he fights every play, every down. He's earned everything that he's gotten, and that's what you need to prepare for. You need to prepare for a down in, down out fight. And they got better. They got a lot better as a football team when they brought him in. You know, and obviously they sacrificed some things to get him. But he's one of those players that's a generational, and you know, you got to do something to get something.
Richard, in terms of the social justice stuff, have there been conversations about potentially boycotting a game? And for you personally, how would you balance maybe the conflicting ideas of boycotting a game and then given how important a loss could be for the season if it came down to that?
There honestly hasn't been a ton of conversations like that in our locker room. I have had conversations with other players, you know, who've echoed those thoughts about that potential. You know, for me, it just has to make sense. And if you told me that boycotting an NFL National Football League game would stop police brutality and stop the injustices that people of color deal with, then I would be all for it. I'd say we need to miss seasons, we need to miss the game, we need to stop it now. But I don't think, in my personal opinion, I don't see how missing a football game is gonna keep police from killing black people, unarmed black people. I don't see that as the solution, honestly. I think I wish I had the solution. I wish there was something I could say right now to stop it. I wish I could take those bullets out of the people, you know, who were killed. I wish I could, you know, George Floyd was still here. You know, I wish we could go back and you know, train those officers better. I wish we could do something different, but we can't, you know, and I think that's where where we need to find a better solution. You know, I think people are putting too much onus on saying, hey, sports, you know, stop our problems, you know, and it's like, hey, this can only go so far. If we miss 10 games, does that stop the problem? Does that solve it? Does that get something done? You know, do we make those kind of shots? Do we make those kind of calls? I don't think we do. And I think until we find the root of the problem, I think we're just sugarcoating it. You know, we're just glazing over. We're just trying to find an easy answer. And the easy answer is to say, hey, sports, stop, you know, till we find a solution. That doesn't change it. That doesn't stop the problem.
Hey, Richard, after George got his contract extension, you sent out a tweet, you know, congratulating him, but you also mentioned he's a great teammate to learn from. At this stage of your career, I think people always assume that you're the guy doing the teaching, not necessarily doing the learning. I'm curious, what are things that you learn and take away from younger teammates that maybe people don't realize that you can still add to your game?
It's hard for me to answer that so directly and so intricately because there's so much I learn from him day in, day out. You know, even the way he approaches practice every day with the same energy, the same conviction, the same detail. You know, it's the moment you stop learning, the moment you stop being open to learning, the moment you stop accepting, you know, teaching and coaching is the moment you should be done because you're not getting better and you're about to get passed up. If this is an everlasting race, you know, in sports to get better and to grow and to elevate, the moment you stop learning, you stop elevating. And so there are guys on the practice squad that I have questions for. I say, hey, what did you see on this? Because they had great reads on the play or they made a fantastic play or they freaking got in the hip pocket and they showed me something that I hadn't seen. That's the cool thing about football. You're always seeing something new. You're always seeing something you've never seen before. You know, and you can watch this game for 100 years and you'll be like, man, I've never seen a guy do that. And so I will never be one to pretend like I have all the answers or I have it all figured out and I can never grow and I can never get better because that'd be foolish. You know, I'd be a fool to ever say that. And so when I say that, I mean it most genuinely and most wholeheartedly that I'm forever learning because I think that that's the only way I can get better. That's the only way I can elevate. That's the only way I can evolve in my game. And so a guy like George Kittle, who's obviously at the top of his game right now, has a ton to offer. And a ton of intricacies that I've never played the tight end position, but I can pick his brain and find out things that he knows and try to elevate my game. So when I'm guarding a tight end, I know what they're thinking.
Hey, Richard, you're a 32-year-old cornerback, so there's always talk about, you know, when you're going to totally fall apart and all that.
Right.
But did you get hopefully this makes sense. When you were a 30-year-old cornerback, you know, you were kind of you were dealing with, you know, two kind of bum Achilles coming off the surgeries. I was wondering, did you maybe get some insight into, you know, what it could be when you do, you know, really lose a couple of steps? And did it give you confidence that should you choose to do so, you know, you could continue to play when you're 35, 36?
Yes, it did. It did, especially throughout the rehab process. It gave me, it forced me to find other ways to get the job done. You know, and when I was still coming back throughout training camp, when my legs weren't under me, when I wasn't getting power out of my legs that I needed because my Achilles wasn't totally cured and healed, I felt like I had to adjust. And it gave me confidence because I was still able to get to some of the spots. Now, it was a lot more difficult to get to those spots, and it was a lot more difficult to make the plays, but it wasn't impossible. And I feel like once it's impossible, then, you know, you got to hang the cleats up and you got to be done because there's a certain standard that you have for yourself. There's a certain standard I play at, and it's a certain expectation that I have for myself. If I'm going to go out there and strap up the cleats and stand out there and be a cornerback for this football team, I expect myself to play at a certain level. And if I play at anything other than that level, there's no reason for me to play. So I do believe that I have good years left in me. I'm only going to play 3 after this. You know, that's what the wife told me. So I don't call any shots after that. So, you know, 3 years after this, if you know, the good San Francisco 49ers would love to keep me on this ball club, I'd love to be here. But, you know, after that, then I'm going to go into the booth.
Richard, it's been such an eventful offseason, beginning with the CBA, which you were a big part of in February, right up until this week with all the fires. I mean, when you take the pulse of your team, your teammates, what do you find? I mean, how are they right now, just a few days before the start of this season?
I'd say they're locked in. You know, I'd say it's been a very difficult, as you pointed out, off season with everything that's going on. CBA negotiations, obviously COVID-19, lives lost, and the uncertainty, the anxiety that it's given everyone. So once again, you have to give thanks to all the essential workers out there. Thank you to all the people out there fighting the fires, for us throughout the nation, especially on the West Coast in Oregon and Washington and California. But it's football has given them a sense of normalcy, I think. And that's what you see when guys come into the building. You see a routine, you see a calmness because of the routine. I think that's something that's missed, and I think that's what people get through sports, through watching sports, a sense of normalcy, a sense of, hey, everything's all right. This is giving me a familiar feeling, and I don't know what the chemical process is, but I'm sure there's serotonin working its way around people's brain when they get into a routine and get to see things that they're familiar with. They get to cheer for their favorite team, their favorite player. It allows them to check out of the reality for a little while, to check out of the stresses of everyday lives, and not that that this sport is more serious than anything else, and that's a real feeling, or that's the best case scenario. But I think that's the vibe I get from my teammates is that this is a sense of normalcy, and it's giving them clear-headedness, and I think we're ready to play.
Richard, Bosa said yesterday that you guys are better prepared to face a mobile quarterback this season. What is it that's different about your preparation this season, or what you guys have done, or how you guys are set up that helps you be better prepared to face someone like Kyler?
Well, we got the tape. You go into the situation, and it's not just a mobile quarterback; it's a different system. Kliff Kingsbury's system is different than a lot of NFL systems, and obviously he adjusted throughout the season and moved towards a more NFL-ready offense. But there was some unpredictability about what he did and the way they maneuvered, and so we had to adjust on the fly. One week we played him on a Thursday and didn't have a time to prepare, and then the next week we were just kind of beat up. Quan Alexander wasn't playing. A few guys were beat up and were playing out of position. And I think to have the training camp to prepare for the offense, I think we're much better prepared. We got our guys, and we're still going to make adjustments on the fly. There's still things that they'll present that we haven't seen. And we just have to this is a game of adjustments, and we have to be prepared for that. But I think having played them twice last year and understanding what he can do well, we have a better bead on what we need to do to stop him.
Hey, Richard, expanding on the discussion that you had about being a student of the game, learning from a guy like George Kittle. I know you watch a ton of film. On the other side of this matchup last year, we saw George go up against Budda Baker, a much smaller defensive back. Is there anything that you can glean from George's game or from Budda's game when two guys with such different body types square off in the slot like that?
Well, Budda Baker is just a kamikaze, man. He's everywhere at the same time. I mean, he's one of the hardest playing football players, and he plays like a giant. So I think you have to take size out of that equation, and it's more of a chess match, of positioning and understanding of route concepts and things of that nature, because regardless of how what his size says on paper, he makes every play that he needs to make, and he's in position majority of the time. He led the league in solo tackles, so I think in that sense, you got to take the size out of it. I think that it's just a matchup between two really good football players, and you're going to win some, you're going to lose some anytime you have that situation happen. Similar to what Tyrann Mathieu is, but Tyrann's more of he's more of a wild card in terms of how he moves and how they use him in Kansas City. But Budda's everywhere. He's tackling, he's making plays sideline to sideline. So I think our offense always has to be aware of where he is, just like their defense has to be aware of where George Kittle is.
Last one, guys.
Yeah, hi Richard. Sorry to pry into your business or career plans again, but have you represented yourself again through negotiations with the Niners? Where do things stand in terms of a possible extension? And did you have any help with DeAndre Hopkins negotiating his own deal with the Texans?
I had no say so or no help with Hop's deal, but he negotiated himself an outstanding deal, and I think it's just just like Bobby Wagner's deal that he negotiated as the highest paid middle linebacker in football. It just goes to show players it's not for everybody, but for guys with the leverage and guys with the wherewithal and understanding of what their value, I think it's possible. These guys save themselves probably $1 million a year negotiating it themselves, and that's a ton of money for anyone, and I think it's just about taking the onus and the responsibility for your own lives, and I think that's a huge testament to those men and every guy that's negotiated his own deal. There's definitely a place for agents, and guys need agents. There are guys out there who aren't as comfortable in that space and need some guidance and need somebody to go out there and fight for them and don't want to have the awkward conversations with the general manager or the president of the team. But I think there is a space for guys to go out there and take onus and be the leaders and the men and the businessmen that I know they are, and obviously this game has a lot more businessmen out there than people think, and this is another example. But in terms of my negotiations with the Niners, we've had talks, but obviously when you're representing yourself, you kind of have to focus on the season when the season comes. So if anything changes throughout that, I'm sure they'll be the first to let you guys know.
Thank you, Richard.
Thank you.
Can anyone hear me? Okay, thanks. I'll be taking questions now. No one? Okay, see ya.
Great to have you. So there's talk of, Isaiah Simmons being of course, Isaiah Simmons didn't say this, but there's talk, oh, okay, well, maybe he's the guy that can contain and hold down George Kittle. What if, I don't know how much you've seen, you'd have to go back to his college film, but what do you know of him? What have you seen? And if indeed you are matched up against him, what do you think of the potential challenge there?
I mean, Clemson was really good for like his entire career, so I mean, I got to watch him in all those primetime games. Yeah, he's a hell of a player. He's a freaky athlete. Was he like 6'4", 220 plus, and he runs a 4.4 faster. Sounds like a pretty damn good football player. And so, he makes plays all the time, all over the field. They line him up at every single position. He can play every position. He does everything that you want a football player to do. And so, I mean, I'm just excited to be able to go out and compete with him. I mean, I think he's going to go out there. He's going to do a great job, and my job is to do a great job as well. So it's going to be a fun battle, and we'll just see what happens.
Hey, George. Richard was just talking about how he really still tries to learn as much as he can, even from his younger teammates, even for a guy as experienced as he is. And you in particular is someone that he feels he has a lot to learn from. What are some things you see in him in terms of maybe coming up and asking you questions? And what is your relationship with Richard like?
Two things. One, are you in the dark right now? Nice.
There's no such thing as dark. There's nothing but
Yeah,
dark.
okay. Yeah, sure. Whatever. Nice. Well, I mean, my relationship with Sherm is, I mean, it's ever changing, really. When Sherm first got here, I had no idea what to expect, and he's been nothing but incredibly kind, and honestly, kind of like I just learned stuff from him every single day. So the fact he says he has stuff to learn from me, that's awesome. I'm gonna try to teach him whatever I can. But Sherm's a guy that he observes really well. I think he observes the entire locker room. He asks questions to different guys just to see how they respond to things. But I think at every single moment that Sherm's in the locker room, he's always engaging in conversation with everybody. It doesn't matter who you are, whether it's Trent Williams, who's across the locker room from him, Jason Ferrett, who's next to him, or if it's me just walking past his locker, he'll talk to me. He's all over the locker room, always talking to guys. I mean, after practices, him and Jimmy are looking at film, talking about why Jimmy threw a certain ball this way and stuff. Sherm's always learning, and that's why he's so good. He learns everything, and so then he knows everything. And that's what I'm trying to learn from him is, like, how do you know so much? And do I need, like, to get a bigger brain or something? But I'm going to try my best to do what he does. And if I can teach him something or two, and I'll do my best to do that. And you should get a lamp.
Hey, George. You've talked a lot in the past about that quote, moving a guy from point A to point B is, the greatest joy you can have, or against his will as a football player. I'm wondering as a tight end, what kind of joy do you get if it's different or similar to beating a guy in coverage? And then expanding on that, you have a matchup possibly with Budda Baker this week. Some cameras caught you, I think, yelling his name last year during the game. I was hoping you could give me some context on what was going on there on the sideline.
What was your first question? Sorry.
Well, yeah, moving a man from point A to point B against his will, that's what you like doing blocking wise. How does the feeling of beating somebody in coverage when you're running a pass pattern compare to that?
I think it's very different. So much can happen in a pass play. I mean, you can make a lot of excuses, or guys win every once in a while. It just depends on what happens out there. I mean, man-to-man routes, I love winning. If you cook a guy, make him go the other direction, on a nice juke or something like that, that's always really fun. But I mean, I'd much rather move a man from point A to point B. That's just kind of my vibe. Yeah, I mean, first, Budda's a hell of a football player. I mean, he's a safety that just does it all. His mindset, I love watching Budda play. That's just, he's a monster. I mean, he's all over the field. He is the guy that if you do not block him, he will ruin your day every single play. Like the whole game. If you have a 70-play game, if you don't block him on 70 plays, he's going to make the play probably 70 times. That's just who he is. I mean, there's a reason he led the NFL in solo tackles. There's a reason he just got the contract that he did, because he deserves it. He's a hell of a football player. I mean, he's been to 2 Pro Bowls. He's a guy that I know honestly doesn't get enough recognition, but he's an incredible football player. I mean, me and him, we're going to have a great matchup. I mean, we're two really, we compete at a very high level. We have a lot of intensity, and we both love the game of football. I mean, what more do you want in a matchup? And it's going to be incredibly fun. I love playing Budda. Me saying I'm still here, Budda, was because he had 2 great knockdowns on me, and I just reminded him. I always say, hey, football's a long game. There's 60 to 70 plays, and I'm going to be here all night. So that's just kind of my mindset. Like, you might get me once or twice. I think Marshawn Lynch said that, just don't get got more than, I get you. So something like that, I think. But just go out and play every single play, and I'm looking forward to playing Budda.
That game, I mean, he made those plays early. You made the play later, and then you weren't available to play a couple weeks later. Is it easy to pick up that, rivalry that it looked like you guys established on that Thursday night game? Can you just pick that up? Do you still feel that same intensity? And have you expressed, or has he expressed, his admiration for your game like you've expressed for his game?
Yeah, I mean, Budda's one of the first guys that congratulated me on a contract. I did the same for him when he got his. We have a mutual respect for each other. We respect each other's game. I'm sorry, what was the first part of that question? I missed it.
I guess it was more, because you got hurt on that Thursday game and you missed the game 2 weeks later.
Sorry,
How
I
difficult
got it.
was it to not be able to have that rematch right away?
Oh, I mean, yeah, that was not fun to miss that game. I'm going to say this, if I don't bring the intensity, that's a guy that does it every single play. I mean, I'm watching, tape from their Week 17 game against the Rams, and they both weren't playoff teams, right? It's kind of hard to play. You have to find motivation. And if you watch that tape, you see Budda Baker out there going 100 miles per hour in every single play. It did not matter if they were winning, if they were losing, how much time was on the clock. He is flying around, hitting people, getting the ball loose, hitting the quarterback. And so, I mean, if that's what you get on a Week 17 when there's no chance of going to the playoffs, like what do you expect Week 1 of a new season in front of no fans? Like he's going to come after it every single play. And so if I do not bring the intensity, I'm going to look like a fool out there. And so I will be bringing my intensity, and I know that our whole team is, because he is very much on our radar.
George, it seems like a lot of the discussion surrounding the 49ers entering the season revolves around Jimmy and particularly right now, the receiving core, the state of it, whatever. Do you find that you think maybe sometimes people are forgetting about how effectively you guys can run the ball? And is that any sort of motivational chip for you?
I think people just talk about Jimmy because they like to, he's got a great chin line, good leader, and he's kind of Italian. So I think that's why people like to talk about him. If people don't want to talk about the run game and it's still under the radar, I'm okay with that. I mean, I don't know why it should be. We ran for quite a few yards in the playoffs. So, I mean, if people want to keep it on the radar, I'm okay with that. I mean, we're just going to continue to run the ball. I think with a combination of, me and Juice, and then our tackles are incredible, and our entire line is, running the ball really well right now in camp too. And I don't know if we're going to hit the ground running, but we're going to try our best to. And I think we've looked really good in practice. We have a better understanding of the offense and what our goals are. The goals of every single play, like, where we're going and why we're going there. So I think it's going to be really fun. And it's going to be a great challenge versus Arizona. Like I said, this is a team that we've struggled to run the ball against, and it's definitely something that I want to do. And we're just going to have to go out there and get it done.
Hey, George, with everything that's gone on in the off season and leading up to this point, nice mask, by the way.
Thank you.
Are those for sale?
No, these are mine.
Okay. Well, I'm sure someone's going to want to buy them. With everything that's gone on mentally, does this feel at all like a different Week 1 for you?
Really not at all. It really feels like a normal Week 1. It really does. I think our staff and our coaches have done such a great job of making, when we come into the facility, as normal as it can possibly be. They've done such a great job of that. Every single day is it is different. It's weird. This social distancing stuff, the 6 feet. I sit at a desk 6 feet away from all my teammates, in a team meeting room, so it's different. But they do such a great job of making it all feel normal from the rest of the standpoint, whether it's eating, the locker room. They've done a great job with it. And so the fact that we've been able to keep it normal-ish, I think is an advantage to us, just because we haven't been distracted by really anything else. We've just been focused on football. We show up, we go to work, we go to meetings, and we go practice, and we watch the film. And so I think our team's definitely taken a huge step forward. And, like I said, I think it's been a normal Week 1 for us, and we're just looking forward to playing some ball.
Two more guys.
Hey, George, the Arizona game you missed last year, Ross Dwelley had 2 touchdowns against them. You have never had 2 touchdowns in a game.
3.
Is Ross Dwelley ever, in the NFL? I don't know. Has Ross Dwelley ever mentioned the fact that he has a 2 touchdown game and you do not?
No, he has not. I know. Unfortunately, Dwelley is one of the most humble people I've ever been around. And also the tight end room's just, we have each other's backs every single day. And I hope, like I said, Dwelley had 3 touchdowns that game and 1 got called back, which is super unfortunate. So he should have had 3. My goal is to get Dwelley 4 in 1 game this year. And if that requires me blocking on 60 plays, I'm all for it. That man deserves the ball.
Last one.
Hey, George.
Hi.
I hope you did something nice for your mom, since you were a 10-pound, 10-ounce child for her birthday. I hope you did. Also, you guys are, again, kind of under the radar. Is this kind of just a natural position? Would you prefer to be under the radar as opposed to being, the guys that are supposed to go to the Super Bowl again?
It is what it is. You can either have a target on your back or you're chasing after other people. And, I don't know who we're really under the radar to, other than people that vote for us on ESPN. So I don't know if they know everything. So I know that around the league, I think people know what we can do, especially on offense. And I don't know how you can take our defense, not seriously because of our D line and just what we do. So I don't think anyone in the league, is underestimating us. And so we have to play at a high level every single week. We're not going to get freebies. We know that. And if we don't play at a high level, then we're not going to win games. And we're going to get everybody's best shot, whether they're the Baltimore Ravens, the Saints, the Chiefs, or if it's, a lower team. But, it doesn't really matter. We're going to get everyone's best shot no matter what it is. And if we don't show up, we're not going to win. So our goal is to show up every single Sunday and whoop up on some people.
Thank you, George.
See you guys.
Fred. Hope you're doing well.
Legendary, as my guy Quan would say.
Hey, what happened for you to end up on the reserve COVID list? And can you tell us about your experience during those 8 days?
Yeah, I mean, you guys obviously know I either had it or was around somebody that had it, but I don't really want to get into the nitty gritty and the details behind it, but it sucked. It did. It being away from the team for 10 days, it's hard knowing that you possibly like letting the team down. Everybody misses you and missing all that time, but at the same time, I'm just grateful that it happened when it did and not during the season. Being back at the time that I am able to get going for week 1, that's a blessing. But yeah, it wasn't a fun process.
Hey, Fred, Richard Sherman, obviously a guy, we always ask you guys, what is it like to learn from Richard Sherman? He was in here earlier talking about how he learns from you guys, his younger teammates, and how he's constantly trying to do it. I'm curious just how you've seen that from him, the way he interacts in the locker room, the way he interacts with you even, and his kind of ongoing mission to always add things to his game.
Yeah, I mean, Sherm, he's always learning, like you said. I've learned so much from him in such a short time, just as, being a leader and obviously football knowledge, being able to anticipate different things that the offense is trying to do to attack our defense. But, I can't say enough good things about Sherm. He's the ultimate professional, and obviously he's going into, year 10, I think, year 10, and the fact that he's still trying to learn and still gain knowledge, not from guys older than him, but from younger guys, that just shows the humility. So, that's my guy, Sherm.
Fred, last year, the Cardinals picked up Kenyan Drake right before you guys were going to play him. He kind of took the game by storm. How much value is there in being able to watch the rest of the season where he's been playing with them and help you kind of game plan and prepare for what you're going to see on Sunday?
Yeah, it's really important because he is such a big part of their offense. He's very dynamic. He's a very good runner, and he does a lot for their offense. And so it is important for us to have that film, I guess you could say, and an experience going against him in the last 2 games. Their whole offense is very explosive and dynamic, so we're going to have a lot on our hands.
Piggybacking off a question about the running game, just what are the challenges from a linebacker's perspective in going against a team that still runs the ball effectively but likes to do it out of smaller personnel sets with 3 and 4 receivers as often as they do?
Yeah, I think their offense as a whole in general just creates some different things in terms of what we don't see a lot of zone read, and the type of player that Kyler Murray is. I guess the only person I can really compare him to is Lamar Jackson. Like, just the fact that he can do so much with his legs and throwing the ball downfield. So, I mean, including Kyler in the run game on top of having Drake as the running back, it presents a lot of different things that we need to make sure we're covering all our bases. As a linebacker, just being disciplined and with your eyes and making sure we're taking the right angles in terms of tracking and tackling the ball carrier.
Hey, Fred. A couple things. I know you don't want to get in the nitty gritty of whatever went through last week, but do you have to regain some physical strength or stamina this week? And then also, what does it mean to be a team captain like your young brother Troy?
Yeah. The first part of the question, I feel like I feel great. I think that's a credit to training with the performance staff out here for right before camp started, having that base underneath me. So when I did come back, I was ready to go. So I feel great out there. And being a captain, man, I think that's the biggest achievement I've accomplished to this date. It says so much when your peers respect you, and it's just an honor for me to be able to serve them. That's all I want to do is make sure I have their backs, and whatever they need, they can count on me. And like you mentioned, my little brother being captain for BYU, that's pretty cool too.
Hey, Fred, I don't know how much you saw him in college, but Isaiah Simmons is kind of like you, I guess more of a modern day type NFL linebacker. If you do have any sort of scouting report, what is it on Isaiah Simmons?
Yeah, I haven't seen too much of him. Just like what things that they were showing maybe back when the combine was going on. But he's a long, rangy guy, really fast. I think he ran in the 4.3s, which was insane at his size. But I think he did a lot for them at Clemson at a bunch of different positions. So I'm sure they're going to use him in a lot of different ways. I guess we'll have to see when game day comes.
Hey, Fred, I know you guys are focused on week 1 of the Arizona Cardinals, but in a broader sense, the NFL season's less than 2 hours away from kicking off. So right now everybody's throwing out their picks. Do you guys still feel like you're the team to beat in the NFC? Do you even talk about something like that?
Do we feel like what? I'm sorry.
You're still the team to beat in the NFC.
Yeah, I don't think that's really talked about much. We're not focused on, I guess the big picture. We're worried about the 49ers in this building. We're worried about taking it one day at a time and getting 1% better in all areas. I think as long as we're focused on what we can do to become better from last year, that'll take us where we want to go.
Fred, with everything that's gone on in the offseason and what you've dealt with personally, does this week 1 feel any differently mentally than they have in the past?
It's a good question. I wouldn't say so. I mean, obviously I think not only football but in life there's always adversity. This one obviously was very unique, but I've kind of used it to my advantage, and saying that I'm just going to come out of it stronger. And I think my teammates have rallied around me coming back. Obviously having 10 days off, I guess you could say that I have fresh legs. That's been the joke around the building, but I'm ready to go. I'm mentally, physically, everything is where it needs to be, and so I don't think it's too much of a difference.
Do 2 more for Fred.
Fred, also in preparing for Kenyan, obviously you're preparing for Kyler Murray. Nick Bosa said that you guys know more about what he does, his habits, what he can do on the field. How are you guys more prepared this season for him?
I think just having those 2 games last year under our belt, seeing it last year. I mean, they gave us fits. It was close games down to the wire on each of those games. Very competitive team, and I know they've only gotten better in the offseason, adding some pieces. So I think what's helped us is knowing kind of how they run their offense from last season. But I mean, obviously they're still going to present a lot of issues for us, and probably going to come out and try some new things. But we just got to be ready.
Hey, Fred, just knowing the Cardinals are going to spread you guys out with 10 personnel and sometimes even going empty, can you just talk about how important it is for the back 7 to tackle in the open field? And I was just wondering if there's been any emphasis on just gang tackling this week.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it. They're gonna use as much space as they can, get us into open space to try and make tackles, and it's gonna take all 11. I joke around with the guys that we have to have our track spikes on this week, getting ready to run to the football, all 11 to the ball, to make sure that we're getting guys down.